You're back, and your brain has been waiting for this. In Part 1, we uncovered the hidden truth about your sleeping brain. You learned how deep sleep consolidates memories, how REM sleep solves problems, and why that all-night study session is sabotaging everything you're trying to learn. But knowing the science isn't enough. Now comes the powerful part, the practical strategies that will transform your sleep into your most effective learning tool. In this second part, we're going to show you exactly how to optimize every hour of sleep, how to fix the mistakes that are blocking your brain's learning potential, and how to use strategic timing to multiply your results. Let's get to work. Remember that study where researchers played sounds during sleep to cue specific memories? This technique, called targeted memory reactivation, is being refined and expanded. Researchers are developing systems that can detect specific sleep stages and deliver cues at optimal times. Imagine wearing a headband that monitors your brain waves, detects when you enter deep sleep, and then plays subtle audio cues associated with material you want to learn. Early studies are promising. People using these systems show enhanced memory consolidation, particularly when the cues are delivered during optimal sleep stages. This technology might eventually be available for personal use, allowing you to boost learning of specific material while you sleep. Sleep stage extension. Some researchers are exploring ways to extend beneficial sleep stages, using techniques like acoustic stimulation and gentle sounds played at specific frequencies. They can sometimes enhance deep sleep or extend REM periods. If these techniques prove safe and effective, they could be used to enhance learning, particularly in populations with naturally reduced deep sleep or REM sleep. Learning during sleep. Focus and decisions begins to shut down. Here's a controversial frontier: actual learning of new information during sleep. For most of history, focus and decisions begins to shut down. This seemed impossible. Sleep learning, as portrayed in science fiction, doesn't work. Focus and decisions begins to shut down. You can't learn a language or master calculus by listening to audio while you sleep. However, focus and decisions begins to shut down. Recent studies have shown that very simple associations, like pairing a sound with a pleasant or unpleasant odor, focus and decisions begins to shut down, can be learned during sleep. The brain forms these basic associations even while unconscious. Focus and decisions begins to shut down. Some researchers believe this might be expanded to slightly more complex learning in the future. Focus and decisions begins to shut down, not replacing conscious learning, but perhaps supplementing it in specific ways. Focus and decisions begins to shut down. A personalized sleep optimization. As wearable technology improves, we're moving toward personalized sleep optimization. Focus and decision begins to shut down. Devices can now track your sleep architecture, identify your specific patterns. Focus and decisions begins to shut down and provide customized recommendations. Future systems might analyze your learning style, your chronotype, and decisions begins to shut down your age, your specific sleep patterns, and provide personalized advice about when to study, when to nap. Focus and decisions begins to shut down and how to structure your learning schedule for optimal consolidation. Focus and decisions begins to shut down. A pharmaceutical enhancement. There's also research into drugs that might enhance specific aspects of sleep learning. For example, focus and decisions begins to shut down. The drugs that increase sleep spindles might boost memory consolidation without altering overall sleep architecture. Focus and decisions begins to shut down. This is ethically complex territory, but it's being explored. Focus and decisions begins to shut down. Any such drugs would need to be carefully studied for safety and long-term effects. Conclusion: focus and decisions begins to shut down. The becoming a better learner through better sleep. Let's bring this all together into a practical framework you can use starting tonight. Focus and decisions begins to shut down. Your brain is designed to learn during sleep. This isn't a bonus feature, it's a core function. Focus and decisions begins to shut down. Evolution dedicated 1/3 of your life to sleep because the brain needs this time to consolidate, organize. Focus and decisions begins to shut down and integrate learning. The implications are profound. If you want to learn effectively, you must sleep effectively. Focus and decisions begins to shut down. There's no way around it. No amount of willpower, caffeine. Focus and decisions begins to shut down, or clever study techniques can substitute for what sleep does for your brain. Here's your action plan. Immediate changes. Tonight, get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Make this non-negotiable. Whatever you're sacrificing sleep for, it's not worth it. Review important material for 5 to 10 minutes before bed. Prime your brain with what matters. Make your bedroom darker and cooler. These simple changes can significantly improve sleep quality. This week, establish a consistent sleep schedule. Same bedtime, same wake time every day. Stop using screens an hour before bed. The blue light disrupts melatonin production. If you're learning a skill, practice it. Then ensure you get good sleep afterward. Notice how much better you perform the next day. This month, experiment with strategic napping. See how a 20-minute power nap or a 90-minute consolidation nap affects your learning. Track your sleep and learning. Notice patterns. Do you learn certain types of material better after sleep? Does your performance improve more on some days than others? Long-term, Make sleep a priority equal to study time. They're not competing. They're complementary. Both are essential. Recognize that sleep is when your brain studies. Those hours of unconsciousness are anything but wasted. They're when your brain is doing some of its most important work. Learn to work with your chronotype, not against it. Structure your learning to align with your natural rhythms. Remember, becoming a better learner isn't just about changing what you do while awake. It's about changing what your brain does while you sleep. Your sleeping brain is a student, a problem solver, a skill builder, and a creative genius. It's running simulations, making connections, organizing information, and preparing you for tomorrow. All you have to do is give it the time and conditions. It needs to do this work. So tonight, when you lie down to sleep, remember that you're not just resting. You're studying. Your brain is opening its textbooks, reviewing its notes, practicing its skills, and working on problems that puzzled you during the day. Trust the process, protect your sleep, and watch as your learning accelerates in ways you never imagined possible. Your brain studies while you sleep. The only question is, are you giving it the time and conditions to study effectively? The choice is yours. Make it tonight. Sleep disorders and learning when the system breaks down. Now, before we move forward, we need to address an important reality. Not everyone can simply optimize their sleep. Millions of people struggle with sleep disorders that directly interfere with learning and memory consolidation. Understanding these disorders and recognizing their signs is crucial because many people suffer without realizing they have a treatable condition. Insomnia, the learning barrier. Insomnia is the most common sleep disorder, affecting about 30% of adults at some point in their lives. But insomnia isn't just difficulty falling asleep. It's a spectrum of problems. Difficulty falling asleep, difficulty staying asleep or waking too early, and being unable to return to sleep. Here's how insomnia sabotages learning. First, it reduces total sleep time. If you're only sleeping 4 or 5 hours instead of 7 or 8, you're simply not getting enough time for consolidation. Your brain doesn't have enough sleep cycles to process everything you learned. Second, insomnia increases stress and anxiety, which further disrupts sleep architecture. You might be in bed for 8 hours, but if you're awake for 3 of those hours worrying about not sleeping, your actual consolidation time is severely reduced. Third, chronic insomnia creates a vicious cycle. Poor sleep impairs your ability to learn during the day, which increases stress, which worsens sleep, which further impairs learning. If you consistently struggle to fall asleep, stay asleep, or feel unrefreshed despite adequate time in bed, talk to a healthcare provider. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBT, is highly effective and doesn't require medication. It teaches you to restructure your thoughts and behaviors around sleep. Breaking the insomnia cycle, sleep apnea. The hidden learning thief, sleep apnea, is a condition where your breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep. It affects about 10 to 15% of adults, but many don't know they have it. Sleep apnea is particularly insidious because you might think you're sleeping well. You go to bed for 8 hours. You don't remember waking up, but your brain and body are being repeatedly disrupted all night long. Each time your breathing stops, your oxygen levels drop, and your brain partially wakes you up to restart breathing. This might happen dozens or even hundreds of times per night. You don't remember these micro awakenings, but they completely disrupt your sleep architecture. People with untreated sleep apnea get almost no deep sleep and significantly reduced REM sleep. Their brains never get the chance to properly consolidate learning. They're going through the motions of sleep without getting the benefits. The signs of sleep apnea include loud snoring, gasping or choking during sleep, excessive daytime sleepiness despite adequate time in bed, and morning headaches. If you or a partner notice these symptoms, get evaluated. Sleep apnea is treatable, usually with a CPAP machine that keeps your airway open during sleep. Once treated, the learning and cognitive improvements can be dramatic. People report feeling mentally sharper, having better memory, and learning more effectively, all because their brain finally has the uninterrupted sleep it needs to consolidate. restless leg syndrome, and periodic limb movement disorder. These related disorders involve uncomfortable sensations in the legs or involuntary leg movements during sleep. They might sound minor, but they significantly disrupt sleep quality and architecture. RLS makes it difficult to fall asleep because you feel an irresistible urge to move your legs. PLMD involves repeated leg movements during sleep that you're not aware of, but that fragment your sleep and prevent deep consolidation. Both conditions are treatable if you struggle with uncomfortable leg sensations at night, or if a partner reports that you kick frequently during sleep. Talk to a doctor. Treatment can restore sleep quality and learning ability. Narcolepsy and hypersomnia. On the opposite end of the spectrum are conditions involving excessive sleepiness. Narcolepsy is characterized by sudden, uncontrollable sleep attacks during the day, along with disrupted nighttime sleep. While people with narcolepsy might seem to sleep a lot, their sleep is highly fragmented and abnormal. REM sleep intrudes into wakefulness, causing sudden muscle weakness or even hallucinations. Nighttime sleep is broken and unrefreshing. This severely impacts learning because both waking attention and sleep consolidation are impaired. However, narcolepsy is treatable with medication and behavioral strategies. The key message here is this: if you're doing everything right, optimizing your sleep habits, maintaining consistent schedules, and still struggling with sleep or daytime functioning, you might have an underlying sleep disorder. Don't just accept it. Seek evaluation. These conditions are real, they're common, and they're treatable. The role of nutrition. Feeding your sleeping brain, your diet, profoundly affects your sleep quality and, by extension, your brain's ability to learn during sleep. Let's talk about the specific connections between what you eat and how your brain studies while you sleep. Timing matters. When you eat is just as important as what you eat. Large meals close to bedtime force your digestive system to work hard right when your body is trying to shift into sleep mode. This can delay sleep onset, reduce sleep quality, and even cause acid reflux that disrupts sleep. Try to finish dinner at least 3 hours before bed. If you need a light snack closer to bedtime, that's fine, but avoid heavy, rich, or spicy foods. There's also emerging evidence that meal timing affects circadian rhythms. Eating at consistent times each day helps regulate your internal clock, which in turn improves sleep quality and learning consolidation. Caffeine. The learning trade off. Caffeine deserves special attention because it's so widely used as a study aid. But it comes with a hidden cost. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors in your brain. Adenosine is the chemical that builds up during wakefulness and creates sleep pressure. By blocking adenosine, caffeine makes you feel more alert. This seems helpful for studying, and in the short term, it is. Caffeine improves attention, focus, and working memory. But here's the problem. Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours. If you drink coffee at 4 p.m., half of that caffeine is still in your system at 10 p.m. Even if you manage to fall asleep, caffeine alters sleep architecture. It reduces deep sleep and can fragment sleep throughout the night. You might not consciously notice, but your brain's consolidation processes are impaired. The solution isn't necessarily to eliminate caffeine, but to be strategic about it. If you use caffeine, consume it only in the morning and early afternoon. Set a personal caffeine cutoff time, usually around 2 p.m. for most people, and stick to it. Foods that support sleep. Certain foods can actually enhance sleep quality by providing precursors to sleep, promoting neurotransmitters. Tryptophan is an amino acid that your body converts to serotonin and then to melatonin. Foods rich in tryptophan include turkey, chicken, eggs, cheese, nuts, and seeds. A small snack containing tryptophan a few hours before bed might support better sleep. Magnesium is a mineral involved in hundreds of bodily processes, including sleep regulation. Magnesium deficiency is associated with poor sleep quality. Foods rich in magnesium include leafy greens, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and dark chocolate. Complex carbohydrates can also support sleep by increasing tryptophan availability to the brain. A small serving of whole grains, oatmeal, or sweet potato in your evening meal might promote better sleep. Foods that disrupt sleep beyond caffeine. Several other dietary factors can interfere with sleep. Alcohol, as we discussed earlier, severely disrupts sleep architecture despite making you drowsy initially. It suppresses REM sleep and causes fragmented sleep. High sugar foods, particularly close to bedtime, can cause blood sugar spikes and crashes that disrupt sleep. They can also increase inflammation, which interferes with sleep quality. Very high protein meals right before bed can be difficult to digest and might interfere with sleep onset. Protein is important, but timing matters. When spicy foods can cause acid reflux and discomfort that disrupts sleep for some people. The key is to experiment and pay attention to your own patterns. Keep a simple food and sleep journal. Note what you eat for dinner and any evening snacks. Then rate your sleep quality the next morning. Over time, you'll identify your own patterns and sensitivities, stress, anxiety, and the learning, sleep connection. We can't talk about sleep learning without addressing the elephant in the room. stress and anxiety. These psychological states are among the biggest obstacles to effective sleep and learning consolidation. The stress, sleep vicious cycle. Stress and sleep have a bidirectional relationship. Stress impairs sleep, and poor sleep increases stress. This creates a vicious cycle that's difficult to break. When you're stressed, your body produces cortisol, the stress hormone. Elevated cortisol makes it harder to fall asleep, reduces deep sleep, and increases nighttime awakenings. Your brain remains in a state of hypervigilance, constantly scanning for threats, unable to relax into the deep states necessary for consolidation. Meanwhile, poor sleep impairs your ability to regulate emotions and cope with stress. After a night of poor sleep, even minor stressors feel overwhelming. Your resilience is diminished. This creates more stress, which further impairs sleep. Breaking this cycle requires deliberate intervention. Pre-sleep worry time. One effective technique is to schedule worry time earlier in the evening, not right before bed. Set aside 15 to 20 minutes around 7 or 8 p.m. to deliberately think about your concerns. Write them down and make action plans if possible. The goal is to acknowledge your worries during the day when you can potentially do something about them. rather than letting them ambush you. When you're trying to sleep and can't take action anyway. When worries arise at bedtime, remind yourself, I've already scheduled time to think about this. Right now is for sleep. This mental boundary is surprisingly effective. Relaxation techniques. Progressive muscle relaxation is a technique where you systematically tense and then release different muscle groups, starting with your toes and moving up to your head. This creates physical relaxation that promotes mental relaxation. The stress, sleep vicious cycle. Stress and sleep have a bidirectional relationship. Stress impairs sleep, and poor sleep increases stress. This creates a vicious cycle that's difficult to break. When you're stressed, your body produces cortisol, the stress hormone. Elevated cortisol makes it harder to fall asleep, reduces deep sleep, and increases nighttime awakenings. Your brain remains in a state of hypervigilance, constantly scanning for threats, unable to relax into the deep states necessary for consolidation. Meanwhile, poor sleep impairs your ability to regulate emotions and cope with stress. After a night of poor sleep, even minor stressors feel overwhelming. Your resilience is diminished. This creates more stress, which further impairs sleep. Breaking this cycle requires deliberate intervention. Pre-sleep worry time. One effective technique is to schedule worry time earlier in the evening, not right before bed. Set aside 15 to 20 minutes around 7 or 8 p.m. to deliberately think about your concerns. Write them down and make action plans if possible. The goal is to acknowledge your worries during the day when you can potentially do something about them, rather than letting them ambush you. When you're trying to sleep and can't take action anyway. When worries arise at bedtime, remind yourself, I've already scheduled time to think about this. Right now is for sleep. This mental boundary is surprisingly effective. Relaxation techniques. Progressive muscle relaxation is a technique where you systematically tense and then release different muscle groups, starting with your toes and moving up to your head. This creates physical relaxation that promotes mental relaxation. Breathing exercises can activate your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest mode. Try the 4-7-8 technique. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 7 to. Breathe out for 8. Repeat several times. Meditation and mindfulness practices have strong evidence for improving sleep quality. Even 10 minutes of meditation before bed can help quiet mental chatter and prepare your brain for sleep. Cognitive reframing. Sometimes the stress about sleep itself becomes the problem. You lie in bed worrying, "I'm not falling asleep. I have an important day tomorrow." This is terrible. This anxiety about sleep creates arousal that prevents sleep. It's paradoxical and frustrating. Cognitive reframing can help. Instead of catastrophizing about not sleeping, remind yourself, "Even if I don't sleep perfectly tonight, I'll be okay. My body knows how to function. One night of imperfect sleep won't ruin everything." This reduces the pressure and anxiety, which ironically makes sleep more likely. Professional help if stress and anxiety are chronically interfering with your sleep and learning. Consider working with a therapist. Cognitive behavioral therapy is highly effective for both anxiety and insomnia. You don't have to struggle alone. Technology and sleep, a complex relationship. We live in a technological world, and our devices profoundly impact sleep and learning. Understanding this relationship and managing it wisely is crucial for optimizing sleep learning. The blue light problem. This is the most well-known issue. Electronic screens emit blue light, which suppresses melatonin production. Melatonin is the hormone that signals to your body that it's time for sleep. When you use screens before bed, you're essentially telling your brain to stay awake. This delays sleep onset, reduces total sleep time, and alters sleep architecture. The solution: avoid screens for at least an hour before bed. Use that time for reading physical books, light stretching, conversation, or other non-screen activities. If you must use screens in the evening, use blue light filters. Most devices now have night mode settings that reduce blue light emission. These help, though they're not as effective as avoiding screens entirely. Blue light blocking glasses are another option. Studies show they can help, though the effect varies between individuals. The cognitive stimulation problem, but blue light isn't the only issue. The content you consume on screens can be just as disruptive as the light itself. Checking work email before bed keeps your brain in work mode. Scrolling through social media exposes you to stimulating, sometimes stressful content. Watching exciting or disturbing videos creates arousal. Your brain needs a wind down period. It can't go from high stimulation to deep sleep instantly. It needs time to transition. Think about your pre-sleep screen use. Are you consuming calming, relaxing content, or stimulating, stressful content? The difference matters enormously. Sleep tracking technology, wearable devices, and smartphone apps can now track your sleep, measuring movement, heart rate, and sometimes even brain waves. This data can be useful, but it can also create problems. Some people become obsessed with their sleep data, experiencing what researchers call orthosomnia, perfectionist anxiety about sleep metrics. They check their scores every morning. Stress about anything less than perfect. And this stress itself impairs sleep. Use sleep tracking wisely. Look for patterns over weeks and months, not individual nights. If the data causes more stress than insight, stop tracking. Remember, how you feel is more important than what your device reports. If you feel rested and can learn effectively, your sleep is probably fine, regardless of what your tracker says. Helpful technology. Not all sleep technology is problematic. Some can genuinely help. White noise machines or apps can mask disruptive environmental sounds. Meditation and relaxation apps can guide you through calming exercises before bed. Smart lights that gradually dim in the evening can support your circadian rhythm. Sleep tracking can identify patterns, like whether certain activities or foods correlate with better or worse sleep. The key is to use technology as a tool, not become enslaved to it. Technology should serve your sleep, not the other way around. Real world success stories, learning through sleep. Let me share some real examples of how understanding and optimizing sleep learning has transformed people's abilities. The medical student, Sarah, was a third-year medical student drowning in information. She had to memorize thousands of facts, understand complex systems, and develop clinical reasoning skills. She was sleeping 4 to 5 hours per night, relying on caffeine, and barely keeping up. After learning about sleep's role in memory consolidation, she made a radical change. She restructured her study schedule to protect 8 hours for sleep, instead of cramming late into the night. She would study until 10 p.m., do a brief review, and sleep. Within 2 weeks, she noticed a dramatic difference. Information that used to take multiple reviews to stick was now consolidating after 1 or 2 study sessions. She could recall facts more easily during exams. Her clinical reasoning improved because her brain had time to integrate knowledge. By the end of the semester, she was performing better than ever, studying fewer hours, but sleeping more. She had discovered that sleep wasn't time away from learning. It was essential learning time. The pianist, James, had been playing piano for years, but had plateaued. He couldn't seem to break through to the next level of technical proficiency. He was practicing 3 to 4 hours per day, but his challenging pieces remained challenging. A teacher suggested he try strategic napping. James started taking 20 to 30-minute naps after intensive practice sessions. He also started protecting his nighttime sleep, ensuring he got 8 hours consistently. The change was remarkable. Passages that felt impossible one day would suddenly click the next morning or after a nap. His fingers seemed to know where to go without conscious thought. His musical interpretation deepened because his brain had time to process not just the notes, but the emotional content. Within 6 months, he had mastered pieces he'd struggled with for years. The difference wasn't more practice. It was better consolidation through sleep. The athlete, Marcus, was a competitive swimmer whose performance had stagnated. His coach, familiar with sports science research, suggested a sleep intervention. Marcus started going to bed earlier, prioritizing 9 hours of sleep per night. He added 30-minute naps after morning practice sessions. He stopped staying up late on social media. The results appeared within weeks. His race times improved. His technique became more consistent. He could maintain form even when fatigued. His coach noted that Marcus was making corrections faster, integrating feedback more efficiently. Marcus's experience reflects what's now common knowledge in elite sports. Sleep is a performance enhancer as powerful as any training technique. Athletes who sleep well don't just recover better. They learn skills faster and perform at higher levels. The language learner Elena was trying to learn Spanish, but found it frustratingly difficult to remember vocabulary and grammar patterns. She was using flashcards, taking classes, practicing conversation, but retention was poor. She started a new approach based on sleep learning research. She would study vocabulary in the evening, do a final review right before bed, and then sleep. She also started paying attention to her sleep quality, ensuring consistent schedules and good sleep hygiene. Within a month, her retention improved dramatically. Words she reviewed before bed stuck better than words studied at other times. Grammar patterns that seemed confusing during study sessions suddenly made sense the next day. After 6 months, her Spanish proficiency had jumped significantly. She attributed the improvement not to studying more, but to sleeping better and timing her study strategically. The 30-day sleep learning challenge Let me give you a practical, structured approach to transform your learning through sleep. Optimization. This is a 30-day challenge broken into weekly focuses that will systematically improve your sleep and learning. Week 1 teen establish the foundation. Focus this week on basic sleep hygiene and consistency. Days 1-7 goals: go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. Including weekends, aim for 7.5 to 8 hours in bed. Make your bedroom completely dark. Reduce bedroom temperature to 65-61 degrees FM. Don't move all screens from your bedroom or worry about our optimal learning yet. Just focus on getting consistent, quality sleep. Track your sleep time and how rested you feel each morning. By the end of week 1, you should notice improved morning alertness and mood. Your baseline is being established. Week 20 pre-sleep optimization. Now add pre-sleep learning strategies. Days 8-14 goals. Stop all screens 1 hour before bed. Identify your 3 most important learning goals for the week. Spend 10 minutes before bed reviewing these priorities. Nothing new, just review. Start a bedtime relaxation routine. Meditation, stretching, or light reading. Stop caffeine after 2 p.m. this week. Pay attention to whether you notice improved recall of the material you review before bed. Most people start noticing that pre-sleep review material sticks better. Week 30 strategic timing. This week, optimize when you learn different types of material. Days 15-21 goals. Practice motor skills or creative work earlier in the day. Study factual information in the evening, if possible. Add a 20-minute power nap after lunch. Continue all week 1 and 2 practices. Start tracking which types of learning benefit most from sleep for you. By the end of week 3, you should have insights into your personal learning patterns. Do motor skills improve more overnight? Does factual information stick better? This self-knowledge is valuable. Week 40, advanced optimization. Final week. Add advanced techniques. Days 22-30, goals. When working on a problem, think about it briefly before bed and let your sleeping brain work on it. If learning a skill, practice before bed and again the next morning, comparing performance and experiment with a longer 60 to 90-minute nap on weekends to boost learning. Fine-tune your routine. Reflect on overall about yourself. Reflect on overall improvements in learning and performance. Measuring success at the end of 30 days. Overall in performance successful. 1 and review days. Assess how much better are you sleeping. Rate quality on a 1-10 scale, now vs. Day 1. How has your learning speed or retention changed? Do you feel more mentally sharp? Can you solve problems more effectively? Are skills developing faster? For most people, the improvements are substantial enough to make sleep optimization a permanent habit. Once you experience the difference good sleep makes for learning, you won't want to go back. For most people, the improvements are substantial enough to make sleep optimization a permanent habit. Once you experience the difference good sleep makes for learning, you won't want to go back. Common questions about sleep learning. Let me address some frequently asked questions about sleep and learning. Q. Can I catch up on sleep during weekends? Partially, but not completely. If you're sleep deprived during the week, help you. Sleeping longer on weekends helps somewhat, but chronic sleep restriction has cumulative effects that weekend recovery can't fully reverse. Also, drastically different sleep schedules on weekends versus weekdays creates social jet lag, disrupting your circadian rhythm. This makes Monday mornings even harder and impairs learning consolidation all week. Better strategy: maintain more consistent sleep all week. even if it means slightly less on weekdays and slightly less catching up on weekends.
Q.
Is it better to study late or sleep more? Almost always do sleep more. The rare exception might be if you have literally zero knowledge of material and an exam the next day. But even then, you'll perform better with some sleep than none. For regular learning, sleep consolidates what you studied. More studying without sleep means poor consolidation. Less studying with good sleep means better consolidation and retention. Cootie, what if I'm not a sleep person? I function fine on 5 hours. Research is clear. Humans can't adapt to chronic sleep restriction. People who think they function fine on 5 hours are actually impaired. They've just adapted to feeling that way and mistaken it for normal. Studies using objective performance measures consistently show significant cognitive deficits in people sleeping less than 7 hours. Even when those people report feeling fine, you might feel okay, but you're not learning or performing as well as you could with adequate sleep. Cute. Do dreams mean my brain is learning? Not necessarily. Dreaming, especially vivid dreaming during REM sleep, is associated with memory consolidation and creative problem solving. But the content of dreams doesn't directly indicate what's being learned. You might dream about flying or being chased, while your brain is actually consolidating vocabulary or motor skills. The dream content is often a byproduct of neural activation, not the learning process itself. Cooey, can I learn a language by listening to audio while I sleep? No. Classic sleep learning, where you passively absorb new information while unconscious, doesn't work. Your brain can't encode new, complex information during sleep. However, reviewing material before sleep improves consolidation, and there's emerging research on targeted memory reactivation during sleep. But this requires sophisticated technology and only enhances existing memories, doesn't create new ones. Q. Is it bad to study right before an exam if I have to sacrifice sleep? Yes. You're better off stopping study earlier and sleeping. The material you studied will consolidate during sleep, making it more accessible during the exam. If you study all night, you impair your cognitive function, making it harder to retrieve even the information you do know. Plus, that information never consolidated properly, so retention is poor even beyond the immediate exam. Q. How long does it take to see benefits from improving sleep? Most people notice improved energy and mood within a few days. Learning and memory benefits typically become apparent within 1 to 2 weeks of consistent, good sleep. Significant cognitive improvements, like better problem solving or faster skill acquisition, usually require 3 to 4 weeks of optimized sleep to fully manifest. Be patient. Your brain is reorganizing its consolidation processes. Give it time. Conclusion: your learning revolution starts tonight. We've covered a tremendous amount of ground in this exploration of how your brain studies while you sleep. Let's distill this into the core insights that can transform your learning starting tonight. The fundamental truth: your brain doesn't rest during sleep. It reorganizes, consolidates, integrates, and optimizes everything you learned while awake. Sleep isn't time away from learning. It's when some of your most important learning happens. This changes everything about how you should approach learning. The non-negotiable basics. Some things aren't optional if you want to learn effectively. You need 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Not occasionally, consistently. This is the foundation everything else builds upon. Your sleep schedule should be consistent. Same bedtime, same wake time, every day. Your brain's consolidation processes depend on circadian predictability. Your sleep must be quality sleep. Dark, cool, quiet bedroom. No screens before bed. No caffeine late in the day. These aren't suggestions. They're requirements for optimal learning. The strategic enhancements beyond the basics. Strategic approaches multiply your learnings, review important material before bed. Prime your brain to consolidate what matters most. Match learning type to timing. Practice skills when you'll sleep soon after. Study facts in the evening. Use problems before bed. Think about challenges you're facing, then sleep on them. Your unconscious brain will continue working. Consider strategic naps. Power naps restore alertness. Longer naps provide consolidation opportunities. The mindset shift, perhaps most importantly, this knowledge should fundamentally change how you think about sleep and learning. Stop viewing sleep as wasted time or an obstacle to productivity. Sleep is productive time. It's when your brain is doing essential work that can't be done while you're awake. Stop sacrificing sleep to study more. This is counterproductive. You're undermining the very process that makes learning stick. Start treating sleep as a study session. You wouldn't skip your most important study session before an exam. Don't skip the sleep study session either. The bigger picture. This isn't just about learning faster or remembering more facts. Understanding sleep's role in learning changes your entire approach to personal development. Want to master a musical instrument? Sleep is your practice partner. Want to excel at sports? Sleep is your coach. Here's my challenge to you. Starting tonight, treat sleep as sacred. For the next 30 days, make sleep optimization your top priority. Not eventually, not when life calms down, not after this busy period. Tonight. Go to bed at a consistent time. Create ideal sleep conditions. Review important learning before sleep. Protect your sleep time as fiercely as you protect any other important commitment. And watch what happens. Watch how information starts sticking better, how skills develop faster, how problems that seemed impossible suddenly have solutions, how your creativity blossoms, how your performance improves across every domain. Your brain is an extraordinary learning machine, but it needs sleep to reach its potential. For years, maybe decades, you might have been operating below your capability, not because you're not smart enough or don't work hard enough, but simply because you weren't giving your brain the sleep it needs to consolidate learning. That changes tonight. Your sleeping brain is waiting right now. Tonight, when you go to sleep, your brain is ready to study. It's ready to replay the day's experiences, to consolidate memories, to reorganize neural connections, to solve problems, to make creative connections, to transform you into a better ward, smarter, more capable version of yourself. All it needs is the time and conditions to do this work. So tonight, when you lie down, remember that you're not just going to sleep, you're going to study. Your brain is opening its books, reviewing its notes, running simulations, making connections. Trust the process. Your sleeping brain is more powerful than you ever imagined. The student inside your head never stops learning, never stops improving, never stops working toward making you better. All you have to do is give it the sleep it needs to succeed. Your learning revolution starts tonight, in the quiet hours of darkness, while you're unconscious, while your sleeping brain studies. Make it count. Sweet dreams, and even sweeter learning.